Guys, I'm now joined by my longtime friend and teammate, Darryl Christian. And Darryl, first off, how are you, buddy?
I'm great today. How are you? I had a good breakfast, but
Okay,
I'm
well,
doing well.
Darryl, I feel like we should disclose this to the audience, which is you and I are about to fly out and watch the trials. Now, the point being, the audience won't hear this until Monday. The trials are done. So if we don't reference the trials or if we speculate about what's going to happen at the trials, I just want the audience to know we've recorded this, put this in the can, as they say in show business, and then we're going to go out and watch the great matches. So let's begin from there. What are you most looking forward to?
I'm just looking forward to the excitement. All these guys have put this on the line for several months through COVID. Some of the time it's been years, and it's going to be fun to see these guys light it up out there, and then see some guys crack and see some guys really push through and get atop of that podium.
The last chance qualifier in some ways broke my heart, and I'll tell you why. Let's not talk about who made it, Darryl. Let's talk about who didn't. When you see a guy like Mark Hall, a 3-time age group world champion, a 2-time Division I champion, and the competition is so fierce that Mark Hall is not in it. I mean, I think that's when you can start to appreciate the sacrifice, the low amount of reward, the huge amount of risk that these athletes start to take on. And I could juxtapose my bad feeling about the guys like what I'll reference of Mark Hall with a positive, which is that Jake Clark did make it. What do you think of that?
I still can't even believe that. That guy is the fountain of youth. He takes time off, still comes back. But again, it goes into these things are unforgiving, and the clock for all of these athletes are different. Some people peak early and some people have the opportunity, just like what we saw with Oscar Wood in 2004, where he came out of the woodwork and made the Olympic team. He didn't even qualify the weight class. And the guy he beat the biggest group of studs in the world to date before the Olympics. So there's so many things that happened in these trials, the qualifiers, and then with even Jake Clark, who knows? I mean, he's a wild card that I don't think too many people want to mess around with.
Yeah, and Darryl, it's funny you say that because one thing that I would predict we'll have is something unpredictable. And what I mean by that is it seems like every year, whether it's a Garrett Lowney or a Jake Deichler, or you referenced Oscar Woods, somebody comes out of nowhere and doesn't just make a splash, they make the team.
Yeah.
Somebody between the Greco, the freestyle, and the women's that we weren't expecting to do well, a number 5, a number 4, is going to make the team if history is a trajectory to the future in this case.
Well, it's interesting because some of these trials, some rules are changed. I mean, let's not forget going back to 2004 too with Jamil Kelly. He was something that he was getting beaten in the open. He was getting beat in certain things. He had some flashes. Obviously, John Smith, all those guys prepped these guys. Cormier, Mo Lawal. But the funny thing is along comes the clinch. He starts training with the Greco team, and he dominates everyone from the clinch into making an Olympic team and then a World Olympic silver medal out of nowhere from a rule change, and he capitalized on it.
Sure. Oh, I love that example. I mean, it's very real. Dean Heil, more recent example, but he was a victim of a rule change. 2-time undefeated NCAA champion. They changed the rules, and he ends up not placing. I mean, just to speak to how strong that is. Darryl, I want to go back to Jake Clark real fast. I want to tell you my experience with him. So, Jake Clark, for any of you that don't know, has been at the Olympic trials in every trials since the year 2000, including this one. Okay, Jake Clark qualified, he'll be at this one. But Darryl, Jake Clark was wrestling for the Marines, and he just wrestled Greco. But if he ever showed up to an event where he could do both styles, he would enter freestyle, and then he would do very well in that. I can remember being at the University Nationals, and year was 1999. I kept telling Chuck Kearney, our coach, I kept telling him, you need to go recruit this guy. You need to go talk. And I didn't even know his name. I just called him the Marine, right? Because he had the brother, Joey, and I still don't know if they were twins or a year apart, but I just called him the Marine. Hey, the Marine won again. Hey, the Marine's doing freestyle. He's in the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
Hey, the Marine. And I remember the Marine ended up in the finals, but it was against Iowa State, the stud from Iowa State, Joe Heskett.
Oh, yes. Yeah, he had heart condition.
So yeah, that's right. I told Chuck, I said, hey, the Marine's getting ready to wrestle Heskett, and the Marine's going to beat him. Oh no, he'll never beat Heskett. I said, well, he beaten 3 All-Americans to get here. I think he's going to beat Heskett. Now he did it. He lost 4-1, but he had won the Greco. So he's had like 15 matches. He comes through everybody, loses 4-1 to Heskett, which also represented Heskett's closest and hardest match. We still didn't know the guy's name. It was just the Marine. And I kept telling, and so Chuck put me in charge of it. He goes, "Baby, you go recruit him. You go tell him, find out what he needs. You get him out to org." It's like, well, I'm not really comfortable doing that, but at any rate, that was my story with the Marine, who's still out there beating guys today, man. How cool is that?
Oh, I think it's awesome. You know what? It's interesting you talk about Jake, and then you cannot forget his brother, Joey Clark. So both brothers, mind you, we've got the Petersons, you've got multiple different brothers of brands through the years of wrestled. But you can't forget these two brothers that are tough as nails, both Marines. Joey Clark, who also was never stopped wrestling. Then you have Jake, who's more passive but super explosive. And I draw these guys at World Team Trials. I draw Joey Clark first round. I just remember getting
tough draw,
hit in the face, elbowed, head butted, you name it. The guy just claws to victory. So I was luckily enough to beat him first round. I go through the tournament. Later on, I have to wrestle Jake Clark going for national team, to make the national team and basically get money in this sport. I had to wrestle Jake Clark, and I would never forget it because Joey Clark's now in his corner, and he's coaching against me. I end up winning the match, and to this day, I don't know if I've ever wrestled two tougher guys, two brothers in the same tournament, and I was able to get the upper hand that tournament, luckily enough. But I can't say enough about how Jake, where he's at right now. I think that it's awesome for all of us. I mean, we look at all these different wrestlers that have wrestled later on in the career. I'm just excited to see him get out there.
I am too. Yeah, to watch him hold up, and I watched him at the Last Chance, and it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same guy, but it's still something very special. The mere fact that he's doing it, and he's still got a goal, and he's still driven me. There's so many positives that come from it, I guess, that I know who I'm cheering for.
Yep.
I'm going to be cheering for him the entire time.
Yep.
But I'll be cheering for different things. Yep. I'll be cheering the length of the match. I'll be cheering he doesn't get hurt. I'll be cheering he scores in this position. It'll be different, but it's still something to come along. And I just appreciate it. I know that we're looking forward to the real big ones, which of course is Burroughs versus Dake.
Yep.
And of course, Cox versus Schneider. And one thing, as we're leading into the trials, Darryl, that I make sure you saw this. Aymar is out.
Wow.
Did you see that?
I didn't see that.
Well, and the reason that's such a big deal is Burroughs sits into the best of 3. Dake gets to sit until the semifinals. Mm-hmm. Now, very likely play is that it would have been Aymar versus Dake. And I'll tell you right now, if anybody was going to throw off this Dake versus Burroughs fiasco that people are looking forward to, it's going to be Aymar.
Mm-hmm.
Aymar could have come in the right 6 minutes and thrown that whole thing off. I don't know why he's out. I just know that he has withdrawn from the tournament.
Yeah, this whole situation with non-Olympic weight classes and Olympic weight classes really has thrown this whole USA team upside down in some sense. You've got guys like Dake who through the years have been waiting. He's had the number of some of our top guys, and he's just waiting out there. And I'm excited because he's finally started having a voice. He was super quiet before. Now he's really having a voice, calling all these guys out around the world. You see where it won the world championship. I think he scored 37 straight points to 0 against. He won another world title, then dropped back down. He made some adjustments with his functional patterns. The guy is looking like he is a tank now. He's completely changed his footwork. He's attacking the upper body. And that's one thing, we talk about these guys doing freestyle and Greco, but Dake is an all-comer too. Don't forget, he took on a world medalist in Madison Square Garden. And the biggest thing that we're seeing here is that Dake is really stepping up. Burroughs is obviously tough. And I think as we start to see some of these younger guys come up, it's going to be very, very exciting.
I agree with you. It's also going to be very sad. I told you my reflection of the Last Chance qualifier, but to see somebody as great and that went through everything that Mark Hall went through and not even be given the opportunity. But Darryl, we're going to have that too. There's going to be some kind of celebration between the Cox, the Snyder, the Dake, the Burroughs, but then we're going to have a real letdown too. We're going to leave some gold medalists behind for sure. We are going to leave gold medals behind. I had a conversation yesterday, Darryl, totally unrelated, talking with Dennis Bermudez. He's got a little show kind of doing what you and I are doing now.
Yep.
He brings on RBY.
Wow.
Now, he brought him on because I had just said I'm half pissed off at RBY, and I was explaining why, and my reasoning was this. RBY qualifies for the trials by winning the NCAA, and in the very first interview he does, he says, I won't be at the trials, I don't have a weight class. To which I'm looking at and go, well, of course you have a weight class. If you're not over 265, you have a weight class.
Right.
And he's going, well, no, I don't. I'm a tweener. You know, I'm down at this 30 business. I've either got to go 25 or I got to go 45. I'm going to go RBY. Then you go 45. This problem is solved. And so they brought him on and said, now, right, I was talking trash, but now I got to deal with the guy face to face. So I said, but RBY, I am confused. Why aren't you going 45? I mean, this is the experience. You're seeing your teammates, your own Mark Hall by example, but not even qualifying. How could you take an opportunity like this and just say no, even if it's a beating? How do you not show up and take it to be part of this? He said, Chael, you want to know why? Because I wrestle Zane and I wrestle Nick Lee every day. I know right where I stand. There's no point in me being there. You know what, Darryl? I respected it. After he said that, go, okay, then we're done. If that's the truth and you just simply can't go with these guys, then I get it. But I think what I'm speaking to you is you can't let those opportunities go. You know, I don't agree with Suriano not suiting up for the NCAA this year. I don't know what better preparation for the trials would have been than going through that tournament. It's what Fix did. Something tells me Fix is going to do just fine.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that the opportunities are when they present themselves. As you know, and I know, some of these opportunities never come back to you. And I think that, you know, you get to get out there and have fun and see what happens, win or lose. It's just the fact that you actually took that opportunity to do it. I mean, I think that's something that, you know, some of the guys now are worried about the reward versus actually the journey. I think that's the biggest thing.
So, Darryl, you will remember your old nemesis, Casey Gillis.
Yes.
Okay. But Casey Gillis, right? The Casey Gillis,
Yeah.
Iowa, All-American, Freshman of the Year for the Big Ten. Great wrestler, Casey Gillis. You, of course, know Coach Mayhab.
Yep.
Okay, so full circle, and of course you know me. Let me tell you a story. In 1993, I was on the cadet world team, and so was Casey Gillis. This is how we met, but we end up being roommates in Germany. Are you with me?
I'm here. Yep.
Coach Mayhab comes to our room. We open the door. How can we help you, Coach? He informs us that he's been told by the front desk that we stole the bed. We stole the bed. So Casey and I never been accused of stealing anything. We're 15-year-old kids, and we're looking over our shoulder at the bed. There's only one bed in the room, and Coach is facing it, so we keep looking at the bed, and we look back to Coach Mayhab. Coach Mayhab never gets up. He doesn't go, oh, wait, I see there's the bed. We're in Germany. Maybe there's a language barrier. He starts talking to us about how inappropriate it is to come into a hotel as a guest representing the country and to steal the bed. So Casey and I, we just keep looking at the bed and looking, but we never get resolution. The bed's right there. Not to mention, where would have we taken it?
Right.
We don't like have a car here or like, what would have we done with the bed? How would have we got it out of the room? We put it in the elevator and we go down. We walk past the lobby and we sell it to some guy we met on the internet, which by the way, didn't exist in 1993. My dad happened to be there.
Oh, wow.
So my father had to go to the front desk and buy the bed. He had to pay them for the bed that Casey and I stole, the very bed that never left our room that we slept on at any rate. Hold the thought because I reconnect with Coach Mayhab. I'm going somewhere with this. You got to stay with. I reconnect with Coach Mayhab 3 weeks ago. And he calls me and his number comes up on my phone. Gary Mayhab, Colorado Springs. So I answer the phone without missing a beat. I haven't seen him. Is that 27 years? Haven't seen or talked to him. I answer the phone and I go, look who comes crawling back, begging me to forgive you for accusing me of stealing the bed. And guess what Coach Mayhab says?
What?
He remembered exactly what I was talking about. He remembered it was me and Gillis. He remembered that it was Germany. And he says, well, Chael, I know that there's been a lot of time since then. And I think you and Casey have probably both grown up and matured. It's like, no. We didn't steal the bed. Well, you know, it was a long time ago and you were kids and your first time on the road and, you know, some bad decisions happened. It's like, whoa, Coach, 27. Do you think I stole this bed? Like, how do I get from what happened to you accepting that we didn't take the bed? We didn't take that bed, Darryl.
Hey, that's tough to sleep at night if you don't have a bed with you. But hey, if you did, Did you have a big suitcase at least?
Exactly. What would have we slept on if we took our own bed? You sound like you think we took. Do you think we took the bed?
Well, maybe.
Where would have we taken the bed? We were 15 in a foreign land. Where would have this bed gone? And you know what? I got the right to take the bed now because my father bought it. Apparently, we own the bed.
Well, did I mean, he might want to send you a card or something, say apologies, like at least a Christmas card. Say, hey, I just want to say, I don't want to, it was hard for me to talk about, but at least here's a card to say I'm sorry.
And my dad, by the way, was on the side of Coach Mayhap. Like I was going, hey,
What?
Dad, I really appreciate you getting us out of that, but we didn't take the bed. My dad's like, well, when we get home, it's probably best to not mention this to your mom. And, I think we worked through it here. So wait a minute. We didn't take, the bed is right there in the room. All the covers, all the pillows, no one's even touched the bed. There's a misunderstanding somewhere. My dad, Coach Mayhap, and now it sounds like you all think we took.
Hey, you might want to reconnect
I'm
with
gonna have to
Gillis.
get Gillis on.
You might want to
I'm gonna have
connect
get
with
Casey
Gillis.
Gillis
He
to
might
come
have
on.
it at his house in Iowa somewhere.
I wonder what he's doing, by the way. I should track Gillis down. I wonder if he's still involved with wrestling. You ever hear anything from him?
No, but I would actually call him up and say, hey, where's that bed?
Who is that Boise State guy, Darryl? You used to wrestle him.
Quizzle.
Larry Quizzle.
Larry Quizzle, I remember. Yep.
Where's Quizzle these days?
I don't know. He got the Gongorian Award. I just remember we went out there, and that was one of the big wins for me. I think I majored him there, but then I had Sean. I was more scared of Sean Morgan throwing a shoe at me, and when I woke him up with Dusty Roberts accidentally than actual Quizzle at that time, because Morgan is scary. The nicest guy. But
where'd Quizzle get the Gongorian Award? At the Midlands?
No, he basically had all the pins at NC2A championship. He had the pins, and then the next year Jorgensen got it.
Okay. Quizzle finished second, correct? He lost to TJ Williams. Is
Yes,
that right?
in the final. He's a big pinner for some reason. He turned it around. Yeah, he did a great job for Boise State. That was the back then when they had like Burton, and they had all those guys there. They had Kirk White, who he was there, and he gave people fits too, especially talking about the Nationals and Opens. He was like 2-1 or 1-0 against Joe Williams in the Opens. I mean, we've got some great things going back to these trials. I mean, we've got the Greco guys coming back out there, going to really, Schultz, and you got Kuhn that, is going to be a fun match. These guys come from college, getting back into it. I think, we're hitting it the right time. And if people like the NC2A championship, this Olympic trials are going to blow them away.
I fully agree with you. And I got to tell you, talking about Kirk White, just to go back to that, but Kirk ended his career 5 wins, 1 loss against Donnie Pritzloff. So I bring that to you. Yeah, Kirk White had some major wins, and even on a bad day, Kirk was a 1-0, 2-0 problem for Jordan Burroughs. And that was a year that Kirk didn't even wrestle and just showed up in time to make weight and enter a tournament. And he was problems even for those guys. Kirk was so strong. And he really believed in himself. When I watched Kirk, I never saw like some special technique there, but he thought there was. He thought like he had this real confidence, and he was real basic, but he was never going to give you the match. You were going to have to take it from him. He was one of those guys that knew how to compete, man. I got a lot of respect for Kirk White.
Yeah, he was somebody that held position. I think that's the difference is most of the athletes now, they're moving around so much. They've got great things. They scramble. But guys like Kirk White never broke position. So it was really hard to get in on him if he didn't overreach. He was always in your face, and he took advantage of every little point he could.
All right, so Darryl, again, by the time the audience hears this, the trials are going to be over. You and I are part of a mentorship program where we're being called honorary Olympians, along with about 30 other just wonderful, wonderful people. But we're going to try to help guide and mentor. We're going to get attached to one of the Olympians. We're going to work with a group. And as you're doing that, Darryl, and as somebody who went through this, and not only Olympic processes yourself, but world processes yourself, and even NCAA processes, looking back and knowing what you know now, what is one of the keys that you help or hope to impart onto whoever it is you're mentoring?
Talking to these athletes is just, not holding back. Don't worry about failure. It's part of the process. And I think the biggest thing is majority of them worry about getting there versus, completing the goal right now. And I think just having fun, because this moment they have, sometimes it will never come back to them. If we're not all as efficient, as good, or as actually fountain of youth is the Jake, that we were talking about earlier, and with Jake Clark doing what he's done. Some of these trials are 5 years and done, or 4 years and done. And I think talking to these guys and motivating them and keeping positive. And I mean, we were part of that Olympic camp in 2000 with Rulon, where Rulon and Matt Lindland and Garrett Lowney, and we're sitting there, and you don't know what the future holds, and you're not even ranked in the world, and you have an opportunity, then you knock off the best, the most consistent, going for 16 straight years, 4 Olympics gold medal, Rulon Gardner there. And the whole thing is that, is Steve Frazier and Momir and the guys are around us, like, win the fight and don't worry about what happens. Just show up and do your job and have fun and see what happens. I think that's the biggest thing, versus worrying about what you can't control. And I think that's what I'm going to help impose on these guys, because again, just bring that blue collar attitude. And I think that these guys can have fun, achieve their goals, and also just have, remember these memories through that time. I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, it sounds so simple what you're saying, right? I mean, essentially what you're saying, to really boil it down, is go do your best.
Yep.
And I know that we're told that as right, but to do your best is something you learn over time. How do I do my best?
Mm-hmm.
And I will tell you, Darryl, the bigger regrets that I have athletically, and I have more regrets than I have positives. I just seem to, my way my mind works, I remember the bad stuff. But it did come down to, I did not bring my skills. I was intimidated, or I had wrestled the guy before and this was a rematch and I kind of knew. But whatever it was, I didn't okay, let me just put my best. My best against his best. Here's the time, and we'll see who has the points at the end. And those are my regrets. Going out there and trying your best at all times and being right in the moment sounds simple, but as you know, it takes a lifetime to learn.
Yep, it does. A lot of it's those trials and tribulations, and also it's in that room. I mean, in the early 2000s, we helped develop that world championship mindset that happened for our USA Greco team. That wasn't overnight. I mean, we had people in there like Grunwald and Bracken and TC Danzler and Saba and Niebuhr, and we had so many guys in there. But you have to bring that toughness, and you almost have to come down to you don't even see it anymore. Without getting in there and being beat down and built up around you, you are forged by the people around you. And I think that's the difference of you don't worry about failing, because you just worry about putting your best effort out there that day, because you will not ever be better than you were that day, regardless how much you train, regardless how much you plan. We've seen that just with Mark Hall. We've seen it with this coronavirus, people getting pulled out. The fact that like these guys coming out with ACL injuries, we've seen it across the board. But you are only as good as you are that day. But when you get there, having that mindset, or whoever you're competing against, there's always an opportunity. And that's the thing that forges a tough room. That's the coaching mindset of, you can't control it and you got to just push through it. And failure let it fuel you, not deter you.
Sure. Darryl, that's beautiful. And I would be remiss if I did not ask you, you're one of the guys working with George St. Pierre. George St. Pierre, greatest to have ever done it. Do you have inside scoop? Is he coming back? Is he still interested in coming back? Or when Khabib left, did that end the chapter of the great St. Pierre?
With my relationship with him, helping with technical stuff, I think it goes there. I think the biggest thing that I can do as a fan, because I mean, just like you, we're fans. I think that when he stopped and he retired, that was it. I think he's done enough. And again, his fighting thing, and for me, fighting is something he didn't like doing. He just was good at it. And with the Khabib is so good at where he's at. I think it's really hard I think he's done. I don't think he ever has to prove anything else. He's broken himself probably multiple times. He's won multiple hearts, multiple minds, and the medals and the belts and the money and everything. And now he can just do his thing and work out just for fun. I think he's no longer around.
Yep, I got you. I'm getting that same sense, but I know he's in the room. I know he's asking you a lot of questions. I know he's still working hard. Maybe he just loves it, I guess. Only time will tell. Darryl, anything else you want to get off your chest?
No, but I always like the way you dress. Thanks, Joe, for those.
Well, I appreciate that. I will be looking forward to the trials. I will see you in Texas.
Sounds good. Take care.